Hello, and thank you for watching the Meal Prep 101 webinar hosted by me, Allison Tibbs. I'm a healthy lifestyle coach and personal trainer. I put this webinar together because I had a lot of clients and a lot of people in some of my challenge groups on Facebook and other various platforms where I work with people. And meal prep was one thing that people were really interested in learning a bit more, and were a bit confused or frustrated with actually doing meal prep. So I thought, this is something that I love doing, so why not create a webinar that would just share with you more information about meal prep. A little bit more about me. As I mentioned, I am a healthy lifestyle coach and personal trainer. I've been doing this for now about 5 years, and it's been something that I've been completely passionate about, mainly just being able to pay it forward and help people to become the healthiest and happiest versions of themselves. I'm also an international speaker and author. I love writing and speaking on empowerment, motivation, as well as nutrition and fitness and clean eating and all things like that. I work with women who are ready to give up their excuses and who are ready to work to feel and look like $1,000,000. I do that through coaching, one-on-one coaching, group coaching, online coaching, personal training, workshops, webinars, all different types of ways to work with people to help them reach their goals. And this is one way that I hope will be able to help you learn a little bit more to give you the resources and tools that you need to be successful on your health and fitness journey. I turned to clean eating as a way to improve my physical and mental health. I was at a point in my life where I was not making the best choices health-wise, and I was noticing that I was struggling a bit with anxiety, depression, insomnia, feeling foggy-brained, and just really struggling on just kind of staying focused and clear. And clean eating was one of the ways that I was able to just get better control over that. I felt better. I started to look better. I had more energy. It was a snowball effect of just great things. And it's something that I thought, you know what, I think I'm onto something. And I just really wanted to pay it forward to help others adopt a healthy lifestyle and to love clean eating and meal prepping as much as I do. So let's talk a little bit about rules of clean eating before we get into meal prepping. The idea is just to really eliminate as many refined, processed, enriched, and artificial foods. Things that are on the shelf, things that are on in the middle of the grocery store, things with preservatives, things that are enriched. If you look at foods and you look on the back of your on the ingredients list, if you see things like refined, processed, enriched, artificial, chances are those are not clean foods. So you really want to try to find foods that are clean and foods that are, real and whole and as close to nature as possible. The good thing about clean eating is that when you focus on eating clean, the foods that you're going to eat are lower in calories, but higher in nutrition density, which means that you won't be starving or you won't feel deprived when you focus on a clean eating lifestyle. Because they're lower in calories, you're going to eat more throughout the day. I typically eat about 5 meals a day. They're smaller meals, but I eat them throughout the day. So I typically have a protein shake, or which I drink as Shakeology, every single morning. Then middle of the morning, I'll eat either egg muffins or a breakfast parfait. Then I'll have my lunch, which is typically a salad or leftovers from dinner before. Mid-afternoon, I'll have another snack. It may be veggies with hummus. It may be apples with cashew butter. It may be a cup of miso soup or half of a turkey sandwich. And then I have my dinner at night. And then if I'm still hungry, I'll have something sweet like a piece of dark chocolate or some fruit, or I'll saute up some fruit and serve it with a little bit of plain Greek yogurt. So there are a lot of different things that you can do with that. And then my dinner is typically, my dinners vary from a lot of different things. I'll share with you some a little bit later, but those are pretty much the rules of clean eating. As you can tell, they're not many. It's just simply eating real whole food and eating when you're hungry. Lean proteins, fresh and frozen produce, whole grains, and hormone-free dairy are great ways to really start bulking up your fridge, your pantry with these items. And if you look to the picture on the right, these are some great things to show you what constitutes as just eating clean, real whole foods. You don't see boxes of Cheetos or junk food or anything else. So it's just sticking to just a cleaner way of eating your food. If you want more information about clean eating, I actually have a free clean eating ebook that you can download. Just go to www.cleaneatingguide.com, and that will go over all the basis of clean eating and give you a lot of tips. There's also a sample meal plan, grocery list, and some recipes on there as well for you. So what I found, I asked a bunch of my clients, what's the biggest challenge with eating clean? And the reason why I asked this is because most of my clients, they know that they have to eat healthy. They know they should be working out, and they may even start working out, but they're not seeing the results they're looking for. And 9 times out of 10, if they're not seeing the results they're looking for, it's because they are not really cleaning up their nutrition, and their diet is causing them to either stay the same or get worse. So I asked them, what are the biggest challenges? And these are some of the ones that they shared with me. If you can relate to any of these, know that the reason why I'm creating this webinar is so that I can help you to see that these challenges don't have to be something that's going to hold you back from clean eating and meal prepping. I don't have time to eat healthy with my busy schedule. I probably hear this one the most. Most of my clients are busy professionals. They are working. They have families. They have roles. They have responsibilities. They have duties. They have extracurricular things that they're doing, and their schedules are so crazy. So they tend to eat things that are convenient to them. This is an excuse that I hear all the time, but it's fun that with a few simple changes in how you prepare your foods and prep your foods, and where meal prep will come in, it can really solve these problems. I don't like eating the same thing every day. Well, luckily, neither do I, and I still maintain a healthy, clean eating diet by utilizing meal prepping. If you don't want to eat the same things every day, you don't. And I'm going to show you some simple tips and tricks that I do with meal prepping, where I can utilize similar items and ingredients but make them to be completely different, so that way I'm not feeling like I'm eating the same thing every day. I don't like eating diet food. Yet again, neither do I. All the foods that I prepare are foods that are tasty, that are healthy, that are filling and delicious. And the most important thing about that is just simply being a little bit more creative and more open-minded about your meals. Eating clean doesn't mean eating broccoli and tilapia every single day. It doesn't mean eating grass and nuts and berries either. It simply means eating real whole foods. So think about the things that you like to eat and figure out how to make them cleaner and more simple in their preparation. It's too expensive to eat healthy. I hear this one a lot, and I just, the more and more that I've been doing clean eating and meal prepping, I've actually saved money than when I shop for other stuff, mainly because you start to learn how to eat food that you're going to eat for the week. So you're not overbuying food. You're not wasting a lot of food, which is just wasting money. You also learn how to be more creative and more multi-purpose with your food, which is also a great thing too, because it helps you be resourceful. It helps making cooking a lot shorter, quicker, and it just gives you a variety of different options. So if you've ever used these excuses as a challenge to clean eating, just know that these are simple ways to overcome by just taking a little bit more time with your meal prep and getting organized. So, like I said, out of all those things, one solution, I'm not saying it's the end all be all, but one solution comes from meal planning and meal prepping. It's going to save you time. It's going to save you money. It's going to help you stay on track with your clean eating. And it's going to give you opportunities to explore and try new things with your diet. So meal planning and prepping can be a great way to get a lot of stuff done and eliminate a lot of those excuses I just talked about. So if you're ready, I'm going to share with you my 7 steps to meal prepping and just give you some more ideas of how to kind of make this a little bit simpler and easier for you to grasp. First, create a plan for the week. This is something that most people struggle with, or they just don't do at all before they go grocery shopping or even think about planning for the week. Look at a calendar of events for the week. Or do you have any meetings or events that are going to happen during meal times, like a lunch meeting, or you're going to be out of the house for dinner? Are there any days that you'll be running late where you won't be home to cook dinner? Are you going to be traveling any days this week? Do you have any guests coming over this week? That's going to affect how you eat your meals and what you do with your meals. Will your weekend be social? So if I know that I'm going to have a really busy and crazy weekend where I'm not going to be home, or I'm going to be out eating out a lot, then that lets me know, okay, this weekend, not only do I have to make sure I'm staying on track, because chances are I may not be as disciplined when I'm out, or maybe I'll have to bulk up on more snacks for the weekend. So I can just create some grab and go snacks, put in my purse, in my glove compartment. So that way I'm not out and about and starving and then get to restaurant for dinner and eat everything on the menu. Also decide what you want to eat for the week. This is another thing that people sometimes fail to do, and they skip to my third step and they're lost, confused, spending way too much money, spending way too much time, and end up wasting money and wasting time. So one thing that I like to do is I like to keep my breakfast and my lunch simple. Not meaning bland or boring, but just things that are easy to make, easy to construct, and easy to eat. Because typically I don't have a lot of time for breakfast or for lunch, so I make sure that I'm preparing meals that I can easily get to, grab out the fridge, grab out the freezer, go for the day. And, I rotate, a few different things for breakfast. But, for me, I prefer to really enjoy my dinners. So breakfast and lunch, I keep it simple, easy to grab, easy to cook, easy to prepare, easy to store, easy to freeze. Also, you can utilize leftovers for lunch for the next day or have those as dinners for 2 nights in a row. So that's another thing. Looking at your meal plans, if you want to maybe make a big lasagna or something, that can feed you for a couple of days out the week. It can also be great for lunch. If you make grilled chicken for the night before and you serve it with brown rice and a good roasted veggie medley, you can make additional chicken breasts, dice it up for lunch the next day for your salad. Sometimes I'll use ground beef and use a little bit of that when I make tacos and just have some scrambled eggs and the ground turkey and some salsa and a little bit of cheese. And I have a Mexican themed scramble in the morning for breakfast I can easily assemble, grab and go and take with me. So these are some things to think about before you even get started with grocery shopping or anything like that. And look for inspiration. If you're not quite sure, you're new to meal planning and meal prepping, then go to Google, go to Pinterest, Facebook, or Instagram for recipes or for food ideas. I do this all the time. When I'm not quite sure what I want or have a taste for, I will always go to these sources just to get inspiration, look at some recipes. You can even get a cookbook. So that way you can say, okay, once a week, I'm going to get ingredients to cook one recipe out of this cookbook a week. Not only is that going to help you to keep things from getting boring and mundane, but it's going to allow you to get creative with your meals and to figure out new foods, items, ingredients that you never would have thought about that you really like and enjoy. Next, you want to create a grocery list. Review your meals for the week and write down all of the ingredients. After you have all your ingredients, start to break them down into different sections of the grocery store. This is huge because what this does is it's going to allow you to get to the grocery store, and when you get to the produce section, you can just go through that produce aisle or section on your grocery list, cross everything out, and then you're not tempted to wander through the grocery store up and down the aisles, getting tempted by cupcakes and cookies and chips and ice cream and other unhealthy, unclean foods. You can break them up into produce, deli, dairy, spices, frozen, dry goods. This little photo on the side is a great way to break things up. So that way you know where everything is and it's easy to grab and go. And that way you're not, again, wandering around the store, wasting time, wasting money, because you want to get in and get out. You want to focus on keeping your list 80% fresh items. And these are items in the perimeter of the grocery store. If you think about it, the produce, the deli, your dairy, they're all around the perimeter of the grocery store because these are the fresher items and they have these back windows that will fill, they kind of continue to replenish as they go. They can't sit on a shelf all day because if they do, they'll spoil, they'll get rotten, and they'll get thrown away. So stay where all the fresh food items are. In the middle of the grocery store, that's where you're going to find all the shelf-stable foods. Most shelf-stable foods are those that are filled with preservatives to keep them to last on the fridge for a long time. Non-perishable goods, things like that are foods that are not as clean because they're using additives, preservatives, chemicals, artificial flavorings, dyes, colorings to keep the food looking the way that it looks and to keep it on the shelf for as long as possible. So your fruits, your veggies, your meats, and your dairies, all in perimeter. Stick with those. That's where the bulk of your grocery items should come from. And then remember to stick to the list. If it's not on the list, it means it's not a part of your meals for the week, which means you're only going to buy foods that if you do get off the list, what's going to happen, you're going to buy foods that aren't necessarily clean. You may buy foods that are going to kind of tempt you a little bit. So to stay to the list, it's going to help you to stay on track. And this has been something that's been really helpful for me when I go grocery shopping. And also just reduces going off track, as I said, saves money and saves time in the store. Now, before you go to the grocery store, audit your kitchen. Go through your list and cross off any items you already have. There's nothing worse than going to the grocery store and coming home with food that you already have in your pantry or in your fridge. So cross any items off. That just will save you time in the grocery store. Discard any items that are spoiled or unusable. This will help you to make sure that if there's anything that needs to be replaced, if you run out of olive oil, if you run out of anything else, or if you are looking in your fridge and you have lemons on your grocery list, but the lemons that you have are probably way past due, it's a great way just to get rid of all of those things and then just add them to the list. So just do a quick audit to make sure that you have everything that you need and that your list is as complete as possible. Also, what this is going to do, it's going to free up space in the fridge and the freezer. So as you're doing your audit, start to move things around, because when you meal prep, you're going to be making batches of food. Sometimes they'll last you the whole week. So you'll need to have space in your fridge and in your freezer for the food that you're bringing in from the grocery store. So make sure that you just free up some space. This is a great way to kind of purge and get things out and to keep things organized and neat and tidy. So you've planned out your week, you've made your list, you've done a quick audit. Now it's time to go grocery shopping. But remember, you want to be strategic about your grocery shopping. No wandering up and down the aisles, but focus on sticking to only the places where your grocery list has items in that section. So, like I said, stick to the list and the sections that stay focused. If fresh vegetables or fruits aren't available, frozen is always a good option. I typically will grab frozen peaches, mangoes, pineapples, berries. I'll also have frozen peppers and onions, frozen peas, frozen edamame, frozen corn. What else? Frozen asparagus, because sometimes asparagus isn't always in season, or when I do get there, it's a little limp or not the best. Frozen broccoli is also great. So I keep a lot of frozen fruits and veggies in my freezer, because if the fresh produce isn't available or it doesn't look that great, I know I have some pretty good options there. I try to stay away from canned as much as possible. I typically will do canned beans. I typically rinse those off, but that's about it. Normally canned fruits and veggies have sodium, preservatives, and other additives. So if you can't get fresh, aim for frozen. And sometimes you get a pretty good deal on frozen fruits and vegetables. There are pre-washed, pre-cut produce that is available, and I will tell you that I typically will go for those, especially if I know that I have not that much time to prep food. If I have a busy week, I'll grab pre-diced onions or pre-diced. Sometimes they have stir fries. You can go and get a container of stir fry with mushrooms, onions, bell peppers, broccoli, bok choy, all different things for about $3 or so from the grocery store. And that's really great when I'm doing my stir fries or doing roasted veggies. You can buy roasted chopped butternut squash or yams or different things like that. Also mushrooms. I tend to buy my mushrooms pre-sliced from Trader Joe's. They're just easier to do, and I can just throw them into a pan or a pot and just let it go. So that's an option, but they may be more expensive. So that's just something to think about when you are grocery shopping, looking at frozen or pre-washed, pre-cut produce. Also, a little tip that I like to do is, if you want to get your produce from farmers markets, I go towards the end of the day or the end of the farmer's market, because a lot of times the stands, they want to get rid of the fruit and the produce because they don't want to haul it all the way back to the farm. So I'll typically give you pretty good deals later on in the day. It may be a little bit of slim pickings, but I have come out pretty well with getting pounds of fruits and veggies for spending about $6 total, which has been pretty awesome. So that's another option too. If you have a farmer's market close to you, try to go towards the end of the show or the farmer's market to get the deals on the fresh produce. And remember, 80% of your items should come from the perimeter. Do not forget that. So now you're home, you've laid everything out. So the first thing you want to do is start to prep and cook your proteins and your grains. So I love this picture right here because this is a great photo. My friend Kevin, he is the owner of Fitman Cook. And this is something that I saw a while ago that he did. And just like really, he just was so spot on with meal prep. He took a basic baking dish and he created little pockets with aluminum foil, and he took a bunch of chicken breasts, and each chicken, section is a different flavor with different spices and seasonings. So for anyone who's like, I don't want to eat the same thing every day, with 3 different versions of chicken, you can do a lot of stuff. So it's not boring, it's not the same, and you can mix and match. So I just want to share this photo because it's just awesome. But protein's going to take the longest to cook, so start first with that. So you have to dice your chicken or season your steaks or your fish. You want to go ahead and brown your ground turkey, do different things like that. And this, again, same protein base but different flavors. So think about how you can mix and match stuff. A lot of times I'll brown a pound of ground turkey. Well, I'll say that 3 times fast. And I'll divide it up and do half with Italian herbs for spaghetti sauce. And then the other half, I'll use Southwest seasoning and onions and peppers for tacos or taco salad or something like that. I may take chicken breast and use a balsamic dressing marinade for half of the chicken and the new Cajun seasoning for the other half, and either saute one or put them both on a pan and just bake them, at the same time. You can take a steak and season it with some chipotle seasoning for fajitas. The other half, you can just do a basic marinade and just have that ready with some veggies and quinoa or something like that. Also, speaking of quinoa, cook your brown rice, your quinoa, or other grains in bulk. You can get a rice cooker or just make a big pot of it or a big container of it, because a lot of times you'll just, be able to throw that into a salad or put it on a side dish or something. I've been able to use quinoa for lunch items, but also mixing it with vanilla, almond milk, and some cinnamon and clove and some apples and pecans and a little bit of maple syrup, and it's delicious as kind of like a quinoa porridge in the morning. So I just make a big batch of that, so that way I can just grab it and go put it, a half a cup on a plate for dinner, for lunch, or whatever. So get your grains and your proteins cooked first, and while they're in the oven or on the stove or on the grill, then you can go ahead and start prepping your produce and assembling your breakfast and your snacks. One thing that I typically do, again, here's another photo from Fitman Cook, is I create a huge pan of veggies. So I'll do Brussels sprouts, sweet potatoes, onions, peppers, mushrooms, broccoli, whatever I have, whatever I got, whatever's left over that I need to get rid of. I'll put them on a pan, drizzle with some olive oil or coconut oil, put some fresh herbs, some lemon, some garlic, and roast those bad boys. And again, you can use those for salads. You can use them for side dishes. You can throw them into soups. You can do a lot of different things with just roasting up a pan of veggies. So I always do that. So I'll chop the produce and start to, again, put it on a pan or just even sectioning them off. We were talked about the frozen produce and the pre-chopped produce. Then what I'll do with my produce is I will start to move things around and store them with their recipes. So for example, if I am doing fajitas for dinner one night, I'll chop up my peppers and my onions and put them in a container. So when it's time to cook my fajitas, if I don't do them right away, I can just pull them out of the refrigerator, throw them in a quick pan, saute them, and add them to my fajitas. Or you can saute them now and put them in the pan and just warm them up with your steak or your chicken or your tofu for your meals whenever they're ready. So it's up to you, but I like to kind of keep things in one area. I'll do my mushrooms, carrots, onions, and broccoli for my stir fry. Typically for that, I'll put them as, fresh ingredients in a bag, a Ziploc bag. And then when it's time to cook them, I just dump them out into a pan with some coconut oil and saute them up, add my chicken that I've already prepped for, the week before or the day before. And I have my meal. I get a scoop of quinoa brown rice, and there we have it. In about 10 to 15 minutes, I have all of my food ready to go because I prepped my produce. When it comes for snacks, One thing that I'll do is if you snacks or breakfast, you can actually take frozen fruit and just put them all in a Ziploc bag. So do a handful of berries, peaches, mango, some spinach, or some kale, and then just put them in a freezer. When it's time to make your smoothies in the morning, just dump that frozen bag of veggies and fruits into a blender, add your liquid, add whatever, I put Shakeology in mine, blend it up, and in about 3 minutes, you have your shake ready to go. Same thing for snacks. I make veggie bags. So I do diced cucumbers and carrots and peppers, and I put them in a bag. I'll make like 5 bags, and every single day I grab one of those bags, and it's just a great crunchy, healthy snack bag that I can eat throughout the day, and I make sure I get a good, 1 to 2 servings of veggies. So that's another thing that you can do as well. After that, you want to assemble and start to store everything away. So it's a really good picture of assembling and storing your foods. I use Tupperware containers and Ziploc bags to store all my food, or I also use restaurant to-go containers, which I buy from a restaurant supply store. And I create little to-go boxes of meals that you can easily grab in the morning before leaving the house. So I'll have, half a cup of brown rice, some roasted veggies, some, grilled chicken, in some containers. I may do black rice or black beans and brown rice and fajita veggies and steak. I may do some salad and put some protein on it, or whatever the case may be, just assembling all of your meals. And then what you can do for your lunches and your dinners, I wouldn't do this for a salad, but anything else, you can put all the containers in the freezer, and then the night before, you can just pull out a meal and put it in the fridge to thaw overnight. By putting them in the freezer, it makes sure that you don't waste food. So let's say, for example, that you have a last minute meeting, or you're at home, or you get home late, you have to grab food while you're out. If it's in the freezer, you're not wasting all the food that you prepared, and you can eat those the following week or save them for a couple of weeks down the road when you forget to meal prep. So I typically have about 4 or 5 frozen meals from about a week or 2 prior that I have ready to go if I need them, or if someone comes over and I have to have more food available, or if I'm going to be out on the road, I can just pack them in an insulated bag, and by the end of the day, I can pop it in the microwave, or scoop it out, put it back in the oven, and it's good to go. Also, you can use mason jars for salads, for Greek yogurt parfaits or oatmeal parfaits, or to even store your smoothies and your juices. So sometimes I'll make my smoothies at night and just put them in the fridge or put them in the freezer. And then in the morning, I'll just grab them really quickly and go. So those are some other options too you can do with mason jars. So that's the main part, is just storing and assembling everything so it's ready to go. And then you have the space in the fridge, so just put it in the fridge and the freezer, and you are good to go for the week ahead. So here's some helpful tools for meal prepping. Like I said, Ziploc bags are awesome. Tupperware containers or rectangle to-go containers from a restaurant supply store. I can get 150 pieces from a restaurant supply store for about $25. So if you have one near, or you can go on Amazon and order them as well. Also, measuring cups. So this is good if you're really good on portion control. I actually use the 21-day fixed portion control containers. They're seen here on the top. It basically breaks down your fruits, your veggies, your carbs, your healthy fats and cheese, and your oils and seeds by color. And then when I assemble my meals, I will have a meal that consists of, veggies, protein, and carbs. And this ensures I'm eating the right portions and I'm not overeating. A while ago, when I first discovered quinoa, I would actually overeat quinoa, and I noticed I started to gain weight because although quinoa is a perfect protein, it's also a carb as well. So you have to be careful. If you overeat it, it's like anything else. It will, cause you to gain weight. So playing with portion control is really going to be important with meal prep, and it gets easier as time goes by, but it's a great way to stay on track with eating clean. Also, I love my crock pot. I typically will do 1 protein or something in my crock pot. So a lot of times I'll throw in a bunch of chicken breasts and shred them up. You can use that for soups. You can use it for salads. You can use it for tacos. You can use it for Italian dishes, Mexican dishes, Asian dishes. It just works really well. I typically will do a chili every now and then, and just throw that in the crock pot, let it go. And you have meals for the week. You can also freeze things that come in crock pots. You can also meal prep your crock pot meals. So sometimes I'll take a big Ziploc bag, I'll throw a pork loin in there, some garlic, some onions, some rosemary, some apples, and then season it up and just put it in the freezer. And then let's say on a Wednesday morning, if I know that I'm gonna be home late, I'll just take that bag, dump it in the crock pot, turn it on, let it cook all day. When I get home, my meal is ready. So your crock pot is a great, great tool to do. You can do breakfast recipes, dinner, lunch recipes in the crock pot. So definitely, they're so inexpensive these days. I actually, at one point I had 3 crock pots. So, don't be ashamed of your crock pot. Definitely use it if you have one. If you don't, go and grab one. It's going to save you time and make, meal planning and prepping easy, especially if you have days where you have a lot of people over for dinner. Mason jars. I just started using mason jars, and now I use them more and more for a lot of different things. For breakfast, I use them for parfaits. So what I'll do is I will layer some oatmeal, fruit, and then plain Greek yogurt, and just kind of keep layering it until it gets about 3/4 of the way done. Keep it overnight, and the fruit and the yogurt actually provide moisture for the oatmeal. So when you're ready to eat it, you mix it all up, and it's like a really good hearty breakfast that has fruits and good protein and everything you need to have a really full, complete breakfast. You can also make mason jar salads. You just go on Pinterest and type in mason jar salads. There's tons of recipes. So if you're not a big salad person or you think salads are boring, you can do this. I was kind of a skeptic of mason jar salads until one of my friends made one, and it was like a Southwest salad with corn and jicama and chicken and black beans and this Southwest vinaigrette dressing, and you layer it a certain way so that way when it's time to eat it, you basically just dump it on a plate, and the lettuce stays fresh because the lettuce is on top, but all of the more dense items are on the bottom. And hers actually kept for a full week. So the time that I tried that mason jar salad, it was day 6, and the salad was still fresh and delicious. You can also do layers of brown rice or quinoa and different veggies and some balsamic vinegar and olive oil. And then when you're ready to eat it, just dump it into a bowl and you have that. So I'm constantly making mason jar parfaits and salads because they're so easy, and they're easy to port around, to take around with you. And you can either eat them right in the mason jar, or you can just pour it into a cup or a bowl or plate. And it's so, so easy, guys. Baking pans. So one thing you want to do is make sure that you have enough baking pans, especially if you're doing a lot of things at once. So if you're at certain times, I have in my oven, I'll have a pan of roasted veggies, I'll have a pan of chicken roasting, half with balsamic dressing, the other half with Southwest seasoning. At the very bottom, I may have, pork loin or a lasagna or something else baking at the same time. So make sure you have a lot of baking dishes as well as aluminum foil. This makes for easy cleanup because you just line your baking dishes with the foil, and then you just kind of separate everything, roll it up, throw the aluminum foil away, and a simple, quick wash of your baking dishes, and you're good to go. So these are just some things, if you don't have, go out and start experimenting with them for your meal prepping. So here are some helpful tips for meal prepping. Switch it up. Find new recipes and get creative. Again, for people who say they don't like eating the same thing over and over again, there are tons of recipes out there that are delicious and healthy and easy to make. It is going to take you getting a little bit creative and figuring out ways to do it. Look for one pan or crock pot dishes. This is a big, big tip. One of my favorites is I take sweet potatoes, I take green beans, and then I'll take chicken. And I'll dice that all up, or I'll sometimes add mushrooms to it, and I'll dice everything up and spread it all in a pan. I drizzle the whole pan with coconut oil. I'll add spices, seasoning, garlic, and then I'll add some fresh rosemary and lemon, and I'll bake it all together. And then I section it up into different portions, and I can get 3 to 4 meals of that, and I'll put some on, put some aside for, meal. I can add it to mashed cauliflower. I can add it with quinoa. I can add it to soups or salads, whatever the case may be, but it literally takes about 25 minutes to make. If I have a lot of people coming over for dinner, I typically will do a crock pot meal or a one pan dish because it's just so easy to do. Again, remember, you can use the same base, but divide and use different spices and seasonings to create variety. So like that picture that I showed you before, it's okay. You can do a lot of different things with seasonings and it not seem boring or mundane or plain. Utilize fresh herbs, citruses like lemons, limes. I've even done stuff with grapefruit. Pomelos are also really delicious on fish, and garlic. Fresh herbs, citrus, and garlic will make any dish taste delicious. If you like spicy foods, think about using cayenne pepper, using ginger, turmeric, other things that will add some spice to your meals without adding a lot of salt or preservatives. And make it fun. Get the family involved. Kids love, if you give them, okay, I just diced up all of these veggies. Now take, handfuls and, put them in Ziploc baggies or start to assemble them on the pan for me, or different things like that. Kids love making parfaits. I do that with my little cousins all the time, and they love helping me in the kitchen. And it also helps them to feel more inclined to actually eat the food that they're making. So make it a family affair. Get the whole family involved and make it fun. And realize the more you do it, the easier it gets and the shorter the prep time. Now it takes me like 5 minutes to put together a meal plan for the week and a grocery list for the week. My kitchen audits are pretty simple because now I know what's in my fridge and my freezer because every week I'm constantly looking at things, getting things done. When I'm at the grocery store, I know exactly where stuff is. I can get in and out of the grocery store in no time. When I come home, it's like an assembly line. I love when people watch me meal prep because they literally are just in awe of how quickly I get it done. But simply because I've just done it over and over again every single week, every single Sunday. I get this done. So when I get off this webinar, I'm going to do it myself. Then I head to the grocery store, get everything done. It takes me about an hour and a half tops to prep meals for the rest of the week. And it really makes my life so much easier during the week when I'm busy. I wake up at 4, I'm out the door by 5, I'm at the gym, training. So I need to have meals that are quick and easy to go. I get home, I do my coaching clients and my group coaching. So again, my meals have to be quick and easy to prepare in between sessions. So if you have a busy schedule, if you have a lot going on, trust me, if I can do it, you can do it. I have clients that have 4 kids, they work 2 jobs, and they're able to get this done. And they tell me all the time it saves their life because they have more time, they have more energy, they're less stressed, they don't have to worry about what they have to eat. And it prevents them from going out to get fast food or order pizza when they have fresh food that's available and ready to go in the fridge. So if the first time it gets kind of hectic or it's whatever, it's fine. Keep with it, stick with it. It will get better. So here's just some meal prep ideas. So in the bottom corner, these are some things that I do a lot of. I'm always prepping my veggies. It's little veggie bags you can see on the left. I also will prep my oatmeal in the mason jars. I have hard-boiled eggs ready to go. I like to do pastas. So I'll make pasta for dinner, and then I have 3 meals later. So I'll take one for lunch next day, and then freeze the other because these dishes freeze very well. For breakfast, I like making egg muffins, overnight oats, yogurt parfaits, fruit smoothies. For lunch, I'm typically doing salads, mason jar salads, or leftovers. My snacks, apple slices with peanut butter, veggie bags with hummus, hard-boiled eggs, yogurt parfaits. And for dinner, to be honest, I just kind of keep it simple. Crock-pot meals, stir fries, lean protein with veggies, tacos, fajitas, whether they're using lettuce leaves for the taco shells or whole wheat tortillas, or put them on quinoa or brown rice to make a bowl out of it. I love quinoa pasta with veggies and meat sauce. So there's a lot of different things that I do for dinner. I like to mix it up, but these are some of my go-tos, especially if I'm short on time, and you just get creative. Every time I make a chili, I do it different. Every time I make my pasta, I make it different. So just kind of the more you do it, like I said, the better it gets, the easier it gets, and the more creative you will get. So that's it. For more info, I just want to share again with you my clean eating guide. You can go to cleaneatingguide.com to get the free ebook. You can connect with me on Facebook to join one of my 5-day clean eating groups or one of my 30-day challenge groups. Just find me on facebook.com/Allison Tibbs Fitness. Follow me on Instagram because I have tons of fitness, tons of health and nutritious meals that I post. I'll post recipes, links to my blog, and you can check out my blog too at AllisonTibbsFitness.com. So hopefully you got at least one snippet or one tip that will help you with meal prepping, and will just give you more time. If you have more questions, again, you can reach out to me on any of my social media platforms. You can connect with me I have a clean eating accountability group on Facebook. If you download my clean eating guide, you'll get access to that group as well. And here's just a quick picture of one of my favorite one-pan meals that I make all the time for friends and family. It's just chicken breast, a container of cherry tomatoes, a bag of those sliced mushrooms, some chopped up asparagus, and the chicken breast there. Season it up and drizzle with olive oil, bake it for about 25 minutes, and I have this great little meal. So again, thank you so much for listening. Feel free to share this webinar with any of your friends or family members who may need some tips or tricks when it comes to eating clean and healthy. And then other than that, thanks so much again for watching, and happy meal prepping.